the newly named Broncos Europe show. Now, we did call it the Broncos Europe Weekly Show, and we've decided that we can't call it that, obviously, as I have been very, very sort of not very organised, and we haven't done a show for a couple of weeks, mainly because the Broncos have been awful, a little bit of illness thrown in there. We've had a certain person have their birthday, which played into the factor, but yeah, I'm joined by my co-host, my very admirable and dependent co-host, Mr. Kieran Morley. Welcome to the show once again.
Yeah. I think you took a little bit too much of the brunt there, Mark, because I think I've been just as much as fault the last couple of weeks, work and other stuff. And but the one thing you didn't mention during that little nice intro was festive alongside my name. I'm just going to put that out.
He made me look like a proper Grinch. Like, he's not warned me. He's not warned me that he was going to wear a Santa hat. I've quickly had a look round. I've got nothing in the room apart from a big Aldi carrot, but that's not making an appearance on the show. So.
I had to mention it early, Mark, before people thought I'd defected and become a Chiefs fan. In fact, it's probably a bad omen heading into Chiefs week.
I'll allude to who you're supporting this week, or who you think's going to get the win this week.
Well, I don't like to bet against us, but did last week, and I think, well, I don't know, you haven't posted the scores yet, Mark, but I don't know how we fared last week. I've not checked.
I can guarantee you've done better than me, like you have all season. I mean, you're 1-1 when you bet against the Broncos, so maybe it's something we go to. As ever, we are proudly presented by our favourite sponsors, Endzone Kit, and they're the number one sort of stockists in the UK for quirky and original sort of Broncos gear. And if you head over to their website, endzonekit.co.uk, you can support Renee and her team whilst getting yourself a little bargain. You get 10% off using the code Broncos Europe, and I strongly advise you to go over there and check out what Renee's got in stock. And if you'd like to get an extra sort of $50 gift card, £50 gift card, you can head over to our Facebook group and take part in the weekly contest where if you get the correct score or nearest to the score, then you will win yourself that gift card. Kieran, you weren't far off. Tell you what, if the Broncos had won against the Ravens, then you would have won. After I had a quick look at it, you narrowly picked me to the post.
Right.
Yeah. I think we were the only two on there who guessed Broncos, stupidly. I did have a little laugh when I wrote it out on the comments.
Yeah. As we just saying before, Matt, a vicious cycle, and we did our weekly picks and I betted against us sensibly, and then come to Sunday and I thought, you know what, I'm edging my bets, I'm feeling a bit more confident, we've got to turn it around some point. So I put a little guess on the Broncos, but was not to be yet again.
It's demoralising, isn't it? And I'm usually very, very optimistic about Broncos' chances. We've got one hell of a D. I've been pretty down on the D after the last couple of weeks' performances, unfortunately, but probably in the wrong there. The offense just isn't producing what it needs to be producing.
No, agree. And we said it's hard to look at it and go, we haven't got the tools. It still all looks there on paper. There's just something not firing, and at the moment, maybe it's a little bit of rust, but I think the general consensus seems to be the coaching, a bit of play calling, and I think that those are the changes we're gonna see, if not in the next 5 weeks, very shortly thereafter, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it all over social media that people are expecting it to come in the next or in the past week or in the next week. It ain't happening until the end of the season. There's literally no point. No one's on the market. The only benefit I could see is getting Evero in as interim. Whether he'd do that, I'm not sure. I think he's destined for a head coaching job very, very soon anyway. So are we the most attractive one out there? Probably not right now.
No, definitely not. But again, there'll be somebody looking at it and looking at the talented roster we've got and going, yeah, that's a challenge, because I'm probably touching it, but there's a lot of media talk at the moment about George Payton. Is he on the hot seat? Is he ready to go? And I don't think there'll be many Broncos fans through the season or even prior to the season who were questioning any of the moves that were made. Retrospectively, they now are, but as everybody says, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And I think there wasn't many people who weren't shouting when we tied Russ down to 7-year deal. Going, right, we've got an elite quarterback for the next 7 years. yeah, he's on the latter end of his career, but he's not going to lose out overnight, as we saw with Peyton and the likes. A bit of speed went, a bit of mobility and stuff at times, but still have that sort of class. But now that's the sort of stuff that people are delving back into, going, well, he's done it before he's thrown a football. He's done it before he's seen him play a snap. And it's like, yeah, but nobody was questioning this earlier. So for me, I think we've still got the right man as GM. I think, the last two drafts, as we've talked about in previous shows, have been brilliant. Like getting the Bradley Chubb deal. I think the only thing I questioned about that at the time was we were a bit light in that sort of skill set, that group. But going towards the end of the season, that was probably the right time to get rid of him, to get the draft pick back. And we have got some good outside linebackers moving forward. So for me, I think I'd put that one to bed, Mark. I don't know about you, but for me, I think we've got the right GM there, and I just think we need to make that switch.
Definitely no question in my mind. His drafts have been decent. He's picked some good players like Greg Dulcich, looks one hell of a tight end. Montreal's had an iffy season this year. Not really done much in the return game. He's shown flashes on offense, but probably not enough. But yeah, he's the right man. I think Russ will come good. Now it's easy to blame injuries for our poor performances, but if you get that full squad out on offense, that starting offense we all thought we were getting with Tim Patrick, you've got your line all set up with Garrett Bowles on the left, and we were slating in Billy Turner, who hasn't really turned out to be the fix, but and Javonte, he's out for the season. I think things can go if you scheme it correctly, if you call the right plays, and wide receivers make a few more catches, or Russ sees an open man. There's potential there, and I think Russ will come good once he's got a bit of stability in there and a coach call the right game. Now, what are your thoughts on Clint Kubiak? Obviously, coming in and starting calling the plays. I was high on the idea. It's not turned out great because I think he's averaged lower points per game than Hackett was doing.
And I think trying to think back a few weeks, but I think the first game was the Raiders game, I think, and it started quite promising. It looked all right, and then fast forward again to the Ravens game, which is fresh in mind, but third down and we're throwing short the sticks again, and that was what we're doing last year, and it was just you're never going to move the ball, you're never going to move the chains if you've thrown short on third down. So
hoping for a player to make a play rather than
giving them the ball to exactly that, and then we saw it it's not working, but again, I think we've mentioned in previous podcast definition of insanity. It's week to week. Well, something's got to change. They're going to try something new, and we just don't seem to be. We seem to be falling back into the same traps, same players, and we're just not getting anywhere. And like you say, you're 100% right with the roster for me, Matt. I think injuries, which is another question within itself. Why is it happening? You're seeing so many stats popping up on Twitter and other places where our injuries over the last few seasons since we've changed strength and conditioning coaches, and the amount of ACL injuries alone, got more on our team than there's others in the league or something. It's ridiculous, but key players as well. Like you say, and just look at our wide receiver room. We've never really had Cortland, Jerry Jeudy, or KJ on the field at the same time very often. I don't think this season. Clint, I thought it was a good move. It's not panned out like you said. It's been very underwhelming.
I wonder what Justin Alton's doing on the sideline. What's his role on there? He must just be standing there like, what am I doing? He's driving his players. He's probably geeing them up, but he's sort of just standing there now. I very rarely see him on the game day broadcast. You see Hackett occasionally nowadays. You probably do see more Clint Kubiak up there. I don't even know what to say. This we were having a chat earlier on this week, and we were going to go live on. I think we were going to go live on Tuesday, and we were just like, we're at a loss of what to say because we'll go back to the Ravens game. you're winning with a minute to go or a minute and a half to go, and you're 9-3 up, and the defense has been playing well all game, and Tyler Huntley's in the game. Everything's going right, really, apart from your offense, putting up points, and they go down and they drive the length of the field thanks to a few penalties and a few good plays from Tyler and a few big runs. But
it's one of them, Mark, isn't it? We've said it all season. That defense is going to be so sick of, they're not getting a break. They're on the field. They're grafting their ass. And how many games? I mean, we put it within how many one-score games we've had, but how many games we've been into the death and everything. And it's been on a plate for a touchdown. A touchdown wins it. Do you know what I mean? And I can understand the collapse. They would have been knackered by the end of that game again on Sunday. The amount of time they spent on the field. And yeah, one good drive from a team shouldn't decide a game. Just shouldn't.
No.
And that's essentially all the Ravens had. And so I don't think there was any fault on the defense at all. Although people were saying, the time when it mattered, and Tyler Huntley, you've let him stroll down the field, but what a shift they're putting in game by game and getting nothing back from the other side. So
we've been struggling to create turnovers on defense, and obviously Justin Simmons comes up with 2 interceptions. What do we do on the when we get the ball back? We just give it straight back. So I think we had 2 3-and-outs maybe straight after. We flipped the momentum, we flipped field. I don't think we entered or had a snap in their red zone.
No, we didn't. Which is ridiculous.
Or something like that. And it was just outrageous, really. You're a professional NFL team. You've got professional players earning millions. You've got coaches in, fair whack, and they can't deliver. We're not playing like one of the best defenses out there.
No. The only upside to that, Mark, is it probably hasn't hurt our red zone offense, has it? If we didn't get there to start with.
You can't score. You can't not score in the red zone if you don't get there. So
exactly. So
future 3D going on there.
Yeah, but I did see one of the worst stats. I've written it down for this, Mark, is teams that were was 0 for 206 since 1995. So no teams had won out of 206 games when they've committed 2 turnovers, forced none, and failed to score more than 10 points. And now the Ravens have made it 1 for 206.
We always break records. We are always in those games that break records.
Like you said, Justin Simmons, 2 turnovers. They forced none against us. And then they failed to score more than 10 points. As an attacking team, winning team, and 9th. But yeah,
I think without discussing sort of the last 3 games, because it's pretty much the same things we'd be saying over and over. Offense struggles, defense plays well, defense struggles in the last sort of couple of series because they're tired. What would be the number one sort of thing you'd change going into the off season so that we are back to sort of hoping to be a contender for next season?
I think, as I said before, I think GM and everything, I think they keep doing what they're doing. He's got us back in sort of day one now with the draft and stuff. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
As much as I said it on many of these episodes, Mark, I think I was a big advocate for Hackett. I just wanted him to succeed for his character and stuff, but it's just not working. And he's had the time. We're talking as early before the London game was he on the hot seat then, and here we are. He's still in it, and I think he's pretty much signed his fate now. I think, and he probably knows that as well. But like you say, it's known who's out there who can attract to come. But that for me is we need a new head coach. We need to change the offense and just start playing to Russ's strength. And when he's scrambling, when he's coming out the pocket of the tank, he looks really good. Still, he's still mobile. He's still fit.
Yeah.
Change those players, but we need to get him that help on the O-line for me. And like you say, it's just more than anything, it's been the inconsistency across there in terms of, again, injuries haven't helped, but there's a couple, you put your list in the little Discord chat, didn't you, of who you would keep and who you'd let go. And I think it's hard to disagree with them, but
yeah, for anyone who's sort of not on the Discord, across the line, you keep Garrett Bowles as left tackle. I was, a lot's coming out about Dalton Reisner sort of this week. He's our Waterpate Man of the Year sort of nominee. So, that side of him is excellent. He fell off my chair there. Is excellent. But I wouldn't be keeping him. He's not had a good year for a few years. I'd be looking to move on there. Centre, definitely moving on from Lloyd Cushenberry. He's not sort of proven yet. Right guard, I'd be keeping Quinn Miners. He seems solid. He's a good run blocker, decent pass blocker. And then obviously right tackle, we need to invest that our round 1 pick in right tackle for sure. It's a position we've neglected for years. It's not worked for years the way we've been doing it, and it's time to put it right. And I can see a lot of investment going into this line to protect Russ, because he's had minimal time in that pocket to sort of do anything. And when he has had time, he's been not panicked that thinking he's not had time. He's been making those sort of errors, hasn't he?
He's been hit so many times; it's ridiculous. He's just hit so many times, and I think as well, Mark, with that, with like I said, with our O line, it's one of the reasons I think that Murray's getting a lot more of the snaps at the moment as running back is we're not creating the lanes still. I can't say too much because we had our longest run of the season, didn't we?
We were talking about that in London, and we were saying, look, we've not had a long run. Obviously, we've had nothing. We've had no big plays, and then a few weeks later, he goes and pops on, and it doesn't really matter anyway. So,
but it's that and that's we've come a little bit one-dimensional through that fact, and it's strange. We're still heavily reliant on the run on first and second downs when we're going for 2 yards, we're going for a yard, and we're just guarantee that most set of downs we're 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 because we're getting 2 or 3 yards on the first couple of runs, unless Murray's managed to grab a couple more through just smashing his way through. So I think that investment
at that against the Ravens, he seems to be getting 6 or 5 or 6 each time, and then we still sort of messed it up on 3rd down where when we should have passed it, or we passed so we should have run, and
I must admit, I think you're right there. I think Murray looked to have adjusted his game a little bit. He looked a lot more agile, I'd say, and taking that little bit time behind the line before he was just bursting through. A couple of little spin moves here and there we saw, didn't we? So just to get the next few.
Just interestingly, who of the running backs? Obviously, we've got Javonte coming back next year. We've got 3 sort of experienced running backs on the roster right now. Who of those 3 would you keep? If you say you could keep 2 out of those, or just one of them, who would you keep?
How old's Murray now?
Oh, that's a quick look.
I don't know. I'd be tempted. I think I'd be tempted to keep 2 on there, or at least be picking up somebody else, in the draft or something like that with a late pick. Maybe just to have some depth there, because you just never know how Javonte's going to come back from that injury. Although he seems to be progressing well from all accounts, from what we're reading and stuff, but. Experience goes a long way, doesn't it, in this league?
Yeah.
Murray, for me, I think he's basically our running back 1, isn't he, at the moment? So, and I have liked what he's done. I think he brings something different to Javonte, although he's got an angry run in him. He's a little bit more explosive, a little bit more sort of agile with it. But we need that change of pace. Now, whether that's cheaper option in Mike Boone, I'm not sure what the contract situation is for either of these, but I was quite excited to see what Chase Edmonds could do. I think he'd sort of gone off the radar a little bit previously, but just by being sort of underused, just kind of thing you see. You go, somebody who's had a good few years and then just suddenly goes to a team that's not being used for whatever reason, and then you're looking like he's an RB3 for somebody when potentially that's not the case. So again, another one on IR at the moment, and it might we see him again in a Broncos uniform.
He's under contract for another year after the season, so it'd be interesting to see if he stays. Later on in when we get off to in the off season, we'll do a projected sort of roster and who we'd cut and who we'd release and who we'd potentially sign off the free agency market. But obviously we'll do a little deep dive into that later in the off season. It's not a great time to be a Broncos fan at the moment, but obviously we're still here, we're still watching, still committed to the cause. It's great sort of interacting with everyone out there week in, week out. obviously we've got the Chiefs coming up this weekend. Initial thoughts for that one?
Look, I think are they ranked number 1 offense at the moment? I think again in the league.
Yeah.
If anything, let's just try and run the clock down a bit on offense and give the guys a break because they're going to be knackered. And to be honest, they're going to keep us in it, Mark, for part of that game. But I would love it again, just to be competitive. I think even at the start of the season, coming into this, Chiefs were always going to be favourites. Now they're by far well favourites in this game. I just hope it's not an embarrassment. I think is the really. I think and don't get us wrong. I'll come Saturday, come Sunday, I'll be going. This might be the week. Actually, we'll shock everybody. We'll have a sneaky win. But
that's just Sunday in that Discord chat. I'll be pounding the table for a Broncos win. I'll be predicting it. Just how
it is. Yeah, but yeah, I kind of say. I mean, the run game at the moment for them, it's they've lost Edwards-Helaire. New rookie, he's doing all right. I think from what I've seen, but I think they're still heavily reliant on that passing game, and whether we can see PS2 from the earlier games, because I think the Raiders game was a bit of a struggle for him.
So he struggled in that game. Not like you can't criticize him too heavily for it. Every cornerback or every player has bad games. He's going through a little patch at the moment, and he played well against the Ravens last week. So he's going to be in a league cornerback for years to come.
100%. And like you say, if we get peak PS2 again, like we had early in the season, it'll keep it interesting. Because I think Patrick's he's gonna go through the air quite a bit. Just hoping Justin and the likes, see a few more picks, and hopefully we can capitalize on them a little bit. But we've got to change the game plan. We've got to be calling different players and just giving us a little bit of a chance on the inevitable third downs that we're hitting. So
what's good is that we've nothing to play for now. We're not playing for our own draft pick. At the moment we're giving the Seahawks the number 3 pick in the draft, which is it's probably the hardest pick to take at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
Seahawks fans out there who are ribbing me daily over that. But I just think try something new, try different players, try different plays. You don't have to be so generic. No one's expecting us to win on Sunday, so just go out there, try something, and you never know. And if we win, we win. If we don't, what's new? We've lost for the last 4 or 5 seasons against the Chiefs every game. So
was it 13-0 or something recently, or whatever? Is that the recent stats? But but like you say, we've got to go out and looking at the depth chart again at the moment, Mark. There's a couple of injuries, a couple of doubtful. Like Cortland's probably not going to make it. So again, we'll get to see maybe it's the likes of Kendall Hinton, who for me is doing
Hall of Famer Kendall Hinton.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Doff my Santa hat to him. But a couple of others, you like to say, when you see Montreal on that side of the ball, Brandon Johnson, Jalen Virgil, these are the guys that we need to get a good look at. Really, we haven't seen so much through a lot of it through bad play, because the rotation's not coming because we're not staying on that side of the ball for long enough. So, but yeah, it'd be good to see what some of those guys have got on that. As we head towards the final weeks and the decisions start. But yeah, like you say, nothing to lose. I don't know what else to say about it, Mark. I think it's just one of them. We'll hopefully be pleasantly surprised come midnight Sunday, but yeah, I doubt it.
That's optimism for you.
That's optimism.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough watch at the moment. Even if they were just being a little bit more exciting, scoring, 20 points a game, it would be a vast improvement. But we're in a dark place as Broncos fans at the moment. But at the end of every tunnel, there's a bit of light there, isn't there? So one day soon we'll be back. And
yeah, but you've just alluded to it though, Mark. Our tunnel ends up in Seattle at the moment, so we're bugging, aren't we? I was sat the other day, and I don't know why, I was going, but we're not playing for our pick, but in the first round, but we'll get an early second. And I was like, no, we don't have a second this year either. So, Yeah, so
we need 49ers to lose. That's what we're rooting for nowadays. Let the 49ers lose a few games. And,
Jimmy G's out now, isn't he? And so who's coming in? Because I thought Baker might have been a shout for them early doors in the week, but
I can't remember his name. Got a really cool name. 49ers. Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is their quarterback, or I think. Apparently, he played really well in the last game when they beat the Dolphins last weekend. So he played
bugger.
Yeah.
Even when we don't catch a break, that's the problem. Even when, not that I want to see anybody injured, but even when the team we want to loses their quarterback,
they still go.
Somebody steps in.
Brock Purdy, could be off. Let's get him in as QB next year. Let's trade. Let's give a first and a second for him.
Hey, well, though, I mean, there was some of the group that was wanting us to sort of test the water with Baker as well, but to me, Russ is only a minor part of the problem and a temporary part of the problem, as we've discussed, Mark. So I think
I put him third, sort of in the playing game. Hackett and coaching staff, number one. O-line, number two, and then Russ's decision making. Say is changing the play at the line, something like that. I put him third.
Yeah. But like you say, it comes from a lack of confidence in the guys around you and in the player that's being called, doesn't it? So it's one of them. I think it's major changes, but we're not too far off course still. Do you know what I mean? I think it's one of them when them changes happen, it should pull itself back in. Is how it feels. Like you said, the pieces are there, but yeah, and to be honest, put Brett Rippon in for me if we're really struggling. If you really think Russ is the problem, which I don't think he is, and I think but Brett we trust. Couldn't do any worse, could he? So,
well, we played him for a little bit, and he didn't do any worse. So,
no,
it's just the way it is. Anything more you'd like to add about the current situation?
No.
Stay with us. Broncos will get there eventually.
Yeah.
I'm being a bit more optimistic now.
Yeah, wake up tomorrow, Mark. We'll be heading into the weekend, and I'll be just as excited for Sunday as I am any other week. And even though we've had a horrible season, in 5 weeks' time we'll be cursing it and shouting for the next one to roll around. So we're not gluttons for punishment. I think we're just, we're keen to see them do well, and I think it will turn around at some point. But yeah, just nice, just not even playoffs, Mark. Just get a winning season. Just get us half marks or above would be lovely. Which is wrong when 7 years ago we were Super Bowl winners. And then last week before, we had a rematch and two far from Super Bowl contenders duking it out, and the fall from grace. But
what's nice to sort of look back on is we were at the last Broncos win, so we were there cheering us on.
That's when you remember that it's a London game. That makes it more depressing for me.
Let's play
since that high, we've been scraping the barrel.
Yeah,
but what a weekend! What a weekend!
Amazing memories we can look back on, and hopefully one day it happens again soon, or we head over to the Mile High City, the Broncos Europe group, which might be in the pipeline. So just leave you with that little tidbit there to keep your appetite wet. So thanks so much for joining me once again, and I'm sure we will reconvene after a famous Broncos win against the Chiefs on Sunday.
Yeah, if we do, I'll put my orange and white hat on.
I can't wait. I will have to dig out a hat now so that you don't make me look like Scrooge again. So, once again, thanks for joining, and we'll see you all next week.